Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Tracy's Tuesday Talks. I am your hostess, Tracy Latona of Golden Rose Financial Coaching. And with me today, a special guest, Alex Everett, who is a realtor with Century 21. With the crazy housing market that's going on right now, there's a lot of questions, a lot of misinformation out there. And Alex is here as a professional to help clear up some of the questions that a lot of people have. So Alex, introduce yourself. Thank you so much
Well,
for joining me today.
you're very welcome, and thank you for having me, Tracy. So, as you said, my name is Alex Everett, and I work with Century 21 Sheets out of Bloomington, Indiana. Um, I I understand there's a lot of hysteria and chaos with the housing market, and a lot of misconceived notions out there. So, any way I can help clear up and answer any questions you may have, I'm happy to help. So, thank
I,
you.
I appreciate it, Alex. So Alex has a history of service. Not only did he serve in the Army, he also ran restaurants for quite a while. So he has a very extensive background of serving people well and going to bat for them. Alex, what brought you to the decision to become a realtor?
That's a really good question. So, I moved to Bloomington in 2014, and the restaurant I was currently working with, which was TGI Fridays, they had decided because they were doing a reshaping of sorts to close their doors, not because of anything we had done, execution wise at the restaurant level. And while that was happening, that there was thoughts of me opening my own restaurant, but I didn't have that kind of capital because, well, it takes a lot of money to open a restaurant in your own name. And and while I was trying to decide what my next career path was going to be, my wife and I, for years, had enjoyed going to open houses on Sundays. And we were standing in an open house, and this realtor was talking her ear off to me, talking my ear off. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't know why she's talking to me. I'm unemployed right now. I don't know what I'm going to, I'm still trying to figure it out. And the next thing I know, she says, Alex, you need to go into real estate. And I was like, wait, what? I need to what? Yeah. She's like, yeah, I know you, Alex. I used to come into Fridays with her partner in her real estate business. And she would witness me in the restaurant business, doing what in the restaurant management, doing what I did. And she said that restaurant people make a great transition to real estate because they have the work ethic and they understand that it's about serving people, taking care of them. That's what it primarily is about. It's not about the money. It's not about, if you make it about that, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And that's how I got into real estate. This was back in 2016. And I started off with a company called FC Tucker. And then in 2019, Century 21, for a good many months, was kept trying to say, hey, you need to come work with us. You need to come work with us. And I was very happy at FC Tucker. I have people there that I love like family. And it was a very hard decision, but financially for my family, it made more sense. Century 21 had a source of leads that I did not have at FC Tucker. Uh, you mentioned I used to be in the military. I used to be in the Army. So Century 21 owns Cardis, which is a relocation company for the military. So that's a source of leads I didn't have when I was with FC Tucker. Plus, Century 21 also allocates more of my commission to me
Mhm.
instead of through them. So there's that. You get paid more. You work the same amount of hours and you get paid more. That's kind of a benefit.
Absolutely.
So that's when I started doing real estate. So I've been doing it for a little bit over 7 years now, and been having there's ups and downs. There's definite ups and downs, which we will get into today.
So that was actually that was actually one of my first questions was what in the house is going on currently with the real estate market?
Well, I'll start with where it was like where it was building up to, like starting the start of 2017, 2018. The way the housing market was climbing, it was headed toward a catastrophe again, like '08. And the reason I say that is because the interest rates were dropping so low, and the backlog of first time home buyers was getting like log jammed.
Mhm.
And when you create, it's all about supply and demand. Okay. And, as I'm sure you know in your field, it's all about supply and demand. And when your supply is extremely limited and your demand is extremely high, the product goes through the roof.
Mhm.
So let's fast forward to 2019, 2020, COVID, kind of during COVID, a little bit before COVID, and then right after COVID, when the interest rates dropped to 2 and 3%, it created such a frenzy that housing market was not sustainable at
Mhm.
all. And I'll give you an example. There was a 1,200 square foot ranch in a neighborhood here in Bloomington called the Highlands. 1,200 square foot ranch, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, not updated. And Bloomington is one of the more has one of the most, well, higher cost of living than anywhere else in the state. Like we have that same housing market comparable to Fishers and Carmel, but we don't have the same income that Fishers and Carmel has. So it creates a kind of a disparity there. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, that 1,200 square foot ranch that I was talking about had no business being listed over $200,000, like 210, 215 is normal circumstances, what it should have been listed at. It was listed at 240. I took clients in to take a look at it the day it went on the market. We had 8 hours to submit an offer. We submit an offer for 260, $20,000 higher than list price, $60,000 higher than what it should have been listed at. And we lost because there were 17 other offers in that 8 hour window. The winning bid was $305,000 cash, no inspections.
Oh,
You can't
that is so
you can't compete with that.
dumb.
Yeah. And that house is not going to appraise for $300,000
Uh-uh.
for probably another 5 years.
Mhm.
The person who purchased it was paying cash. So
Yeah.
they don't have to worry about an appraisal.
Yeah.
So with that type of market, as you can see, that's not sustainable.
Mm-mm.
Buyers became disgruntled, and they're like, I mean, I literally had buyers like, I don't know what to do anymore. And as a real estate agent, it's very difficult because you want to best help your clients and advise them in the best way possible. And sometimes people are in predicaments that they have to move. Look
Mhm.
at Indiana University. If someone they get an opportunity to go work at, let's say, NYC or UCLA, where I believe, in UCLA the weather's a little better than it is here in Indiana, and cost of living may be higher in California, but let's say they get a pay raise that's comparable to where they can live their lifestyle that they're used to living, or maybe increase their lifestyle.
Mhm.
How do they not take that opportunity?
Yeah.
So so then they have to move in
Yeah.
order to, people move all the time. They
So
have.
I know that one of the things that the government did to kind of stabilize the housing market was to increase the interest rates. They went from 2 to 3%, as you said. Now that we're looking at 6, 7.5%, that's double the interest rate.
Right.
I've got clients who recently purchased a house. They started a build, then the interest rate doubled, and like their interest is like $1,000 a month more than what they were originally quoted at the beginning of the build. So is this interest rate hike helping at all with stabilizing the market, or do you think it's
It
just
is.
causing harm?
No, it is. Okay. So it's almost done away with the backlog. Okay. So the buyers who could buy in at 2% and buy above their means
Mhm.
now are not doing that. So, because that's going to put people, as you know, in financial hardship.
Yeah.
Like your people who built that house, now that their house payment is increased by $1,000, they're like, what are we going to do? This is how I advise buyers in that situation. Okay. Um, you know, first off, a new build, that's different. I mean, there are ways to get a rate locked in before that happens. Um, don't go with an adjustable, an arm.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Don't do that.
no.
Okay. That's something of the past. Unless you're made of money, which a lot of people I deal with are not. I'm sure a lot of people you deal with are not made of money, or it doesn't grow on trees. Um, don't You got to stay away from the arms. Okay, the adjustable rates. You may have a 2% one year, and then you may have a 12% the next. That's ridiculous. You can't you can't budget for that. You can't plan for that. Um, so what I tell buyers now is that you date the rate, okay, because the rate's not going to stay this high. It's not. We've already have forecasts and projections that the rate is going to drop in 2024. Probably by mid 2024, we're probably looking back, and this is a projection, 4 to 5% again. 4 to 5% is normal. 4% is normal. Okay. Um, Now, what we say normal 10 years ago in the real estate industry, 8% was normal,
Okay.
6%, 7% was
Yeah.
normal. Okay. And then they drop, they drop, they drop. Um, there's gonna be ebbs and flows, and there's going to be kind of a wave, so to speak, and you got to ride the wave.
Hmm.
And if you don't have to move, you don't move. In that same conversation in ballpark, um, I had a client who had bought they had a unique built home in Greene County, and when the housing market was crazy advantageous for sellers, she called me and she said, Alex, I want to sell my house. And I go, Nikki, that's fantastic. Where do you want to move? She goes, Carmel. And I go, why? And she said, because I want to take advantage of this market. I go, Nikki, let me explain something to you. As soon as we sell your house, what predicament do you think you're going to be in? You're going to be overpaying for a house, and especially in Carmel. So why sell? You're not going to make the income that you think. Yeah, I mean, you're going to make money on the sale of your house. You are. But then you're going to be in the same boat that all the other buyers are in, where
Yeah.
you're having to compete, you're having to overpay, and once you buy that house, I said, "Do you and Mike still love your house?" She was like, "Yeah, we love our house. Then stay there,
Yeah.
stay there."
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Well,
not very many real estate agents to tell you, "No, I'm not going to sell your house." That's not. I mean, but I told her, I said, "It just doesn't make sense to you. It just
mhm.
doesn't make sense for you to do that, especially now." If Mike works from home, her husband, if they were having to move, then that's another subject.
Mhm.
People have to move. That's why during COVID, real estate agents were considered essential because people had to move. But in the state of Michigan and one other state, I think it was Pennsylvania, they were not considered essential, so they couldn't do real estate transactions. What
Wow.
if you're working at University of Michigan and you get transferred? And I'm bringing up universities because obviously Bloomington's a college town. What do you do? I
Mhm.
can't sell my house. I can't go talk to a realtor because of COVID, because of lockdown,
So
So
would you say that the supply and demand is starting to level out at least in your area in Bloomington, Indiana?
absolutely, absolutely. Because um, I'll give you an example. I just listed a house in Indianapolis, and uh, I kept telling the client that, look, we're not in the same market we were in. You don't put a sign in the yard and people don't throw money at it. Okay, that's not the world we live in anymore.
Mhm.
It's going to be on the market for a little while. We're going to have to sustain that. We're going to have to weather that storm. I
Mhm.
said, but we can still get you a profit for your house. And we did. It sold in the range that we thought. It was a duplex. I told her between 300 and 310. We got an accepted offer at 300 and we closed on it on Friday.
Awesome.
With the rates being, I have two buyers right now that have accepted contracts. One of them bought at 8%. The other one is doing a cash offer. They're using their financial means through Edward Jones.
Mhm.
So obviously the rate's not going to affect them because they have the cash. But they're 80 years old. They're retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've established and created their wealth over many decades, and now they're having to move because of health reasons to move closer to their son and his wife.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, but they have the financial means to do this.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. So back to the whole buyers, my sister who just having a new build bought out in Colorado, she was able to buy her rate down by just putting a little bit extra money down.
Mhm.
So there's some lenders are doing I don't want to call it a trick, but uh, kind of a a way to help you, and that is if you secure a loan with us to buy your house, we will refi your loan over the next 3 years for free 2 or 3 times. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
plans, ways to help you, so you're not locked in at this crazy 8%. And it's only crazy because in the last 10 years, it hasn't been 8%.
Yeah.
It's been lower.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I
The
do.
the normal is what people are used to.
Yeah. I've heard stories of like 18% like back in the 80s, and I've heard conversations like the 6 and 7% is the normal thing. Like we are back to normal, but you said something that in the last 10 years normal has changed, and that 4 to 5% is what we should be forecasting or
That,
expecting here.
that's what we're hoping for. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, Century 21 is a global company, so they have, offices all over the world, and they
Mhm.
have people that are far smarter than I, planning and looking at projections and seeing what, the Fed is going to do, because that's what dictates a lot of it. And, trying to forecast the market, because this is a billion dollar industry all over just the United States. I
Yeah.
mean, look at HGTV and how that's taken off, and DIY and all. You know what I mean? It's and I can't tell, like in Bloomington, in a population, not counting the students, of like 40,000, 45,000 people, there's 500 real estate agents.
Mhm.
500 real estate agents in Bloomington. There's over 1,000 in Indianapolis. I don't actually know the number in Indianapolis. I just know it's over 1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's where we're a franchise of Century 21, and that's where our corporate headquarters. It's in Indianapolis. So
Mhm.
uh, that's a term I've heard, a number I've heard thrown out by someone up in that market. So
So just to recap with what's going on, interest rates actually have kind of stabilized the buying frenzy. The market
yes,
finally starting to level out a little bit. Interest rates are projected to be estimated to go down a little bit by about mid June or so next year. Supply and demand is stabilizing, and mortgage lenders are coming up with ways to help people purchase homes.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I have heard lenders say that they're encouraging people to marry the home and not the rate.
That's right. That's
And
right. Date the rate and love the house, marry the home. Absolutely.
gotcha. Thank you for saying it correctly for me.
Yeah,
One thing I do want to say to the audience is yes, refinancing is definitely an opportunity for the future. That being said, please, 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 please make sure that you're still ready to buy the house wisely for the situation that you're currently in.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
don't want to be a slave to your mortgage rate. You don't want to live on PB&J for a couple of years hoping that things will work out, because ultimately it is out of our control. We don't know what's going to happen for real. We can have all the projections. So what does that look like? That looks like having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. That looks like having as little or to no debt as possible, having money for the down payments and the money that goes into buying a house. Alex, what do you have to add to that?
I I agree wholeheartedly. And this is why I told you about Nikki and her husband Mike when they were like, "Hey, let's sell our house." No. Don't do that. If you can weather, and that was a specific incident that I'm, or a specific example that I'm talking about. Everyone's situation is different. If you don't have to move, don't do it. If you are looking, if your family outgrows your current living space, or if you're in a situation where, hey, you don't feel safe, or something like that, then by all means, there are still ways for you to purchase a home and still be advantageous for you. Okay. And it can still help you. People have to buy and sell homes. They have to. Okay. It's part of life. It's just like medical bills. We're, that's an industry that's never gonna, I hate to say the word, die.
Yeah.
Because, well, people are gonna get sick, So I I couldn't agree with you more as far as, and this is something I advise clients all the time, as far as your financial means. You don't want to be house poor. You want, there's still things like when you buy your house, you are still going to need to consume food. It's part of your, you're going to have to. Yeah. Yeah. Food. I know. Some consume more than others. Okay. So, but, more than they should. That's for sure. And I tell clients this all the time when, I don't care where you're pre-approved at, only in the regard of, if you're pre-approved for $400,000, I'm not going to show you a $600,000 house because there's no need. Why show you something you can't have? I don't believe in doing it. I'm wasting your time and mine. But if you're pre-approved at $400,000, but you don't want to spend more than two, so be it. Doesn't bother me. I want to do the best I can for you. And if that's what you want to do, then I'll find you the best house we can at $200,000. Now, I can tell you right now, in Bloomington, you're not going to find much.
Yeah.
You're going to find a 1-bedroom, 200 square foot closet. And, well, not quite that bad. But there's other markets, there's surrounding counties. And if you want to save your money on the house and spend it driving to and from, so be it. You have an electric car. So you're like, I can drive all over the state if I want, as long as I charge it up. There you go. You know what I mean? It depends on what your lifestyle, what it is that you want. But the housing market and real estate in general is still one of the best investments you can make, because home property values have gone up. They have increased steadily. And by steadily, I mean every month to every year since 2008. 2008 when we had the crash, the housing crash, and there was a lot of silly lending going on then. I was in the restaurant industry then, and we got destroyed in 2008. The economy as a whole. When the gas prices went up to $5, and people were like, I either put gas in my car or I go to O'Charlie's or TGI Fridays, which is two restaurant corporations I work for. People chose gas in their car for some reason, like so they could go to work. I mean, who knew? Like, no, you should be coming to see Alex at a restaurant so he can feed you and he can feed all his children. So anyway, and they also did some silly things back then with homes, and they would like bundle your car loans in with your house loan. So you would have $120,000 house, but you had a $300,000 loan on it. And then these people had to move, and all of a sudden you're asking a realtor to sell your home for $300,000 when it's only worth $120,000. And then they had some lenders that were doing questionable things with appraisers, meaning, hey, appraiser, go appraise this house at 300 and I'll give you an extra $100 off the side or whatever. It's called a kickback. Mm-hmm. So now now lenders are not allowed to talk to appraisers. Mm-hmm. Lenders have to talk to a management group. Management group contacts an appraiser. The appraiser goes appraise the property, and then the appraiser submits it to the management group, and then the management group submits it back to the lender. So it adds some time in your home buying process, but it's a safety regulation put in place so we don't have what happened in 2008, where people are like, oh, I'll appraise it for whatever the lender wants me to appraise it at.
Yeah. So
So that
what I'm hearing is that what happened in '08 is not gonna like this looks different than what happened in '08 is what we're going through right now.
right, and we're nowhere near of what happened back then. People aren't overpaying for houses by 20 and 30%. That's not happening because that's not a sustainable market. It's just
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
And we everybody knows this when you talk about it like that. Um, it makes sense. When you got 13, 17, 22 people throwing money at something, highest bid wins.
Mhm.
You can't keep living like that. One of the other things we also saw is that when the average first time home buyer was staying in their house an average of 5 to 7 years, well, that time frame's kind of gone up a little bit. It's now, I think the last demographic I saw was 8 to 10. Part of that is a lot of people aren't making the money that they need to make to move into their second tier home, the bigger home. Now I've got 3 kids instead of 2, which now that's also not happening. People aren't having as many kids as they have like since the baby boomers and kids of my generation, which we're not going to get into how old I am in my generation. Okay. So people are like, wow, how is he still breathing? He's that old. So um, so we're not seeing that. So people aren't needing as big a space. There's also that whole tiny home boom where people are like, "Hey, I'll just take a smaller space and put it on a lot or whatever." Um, I don't believe in that personally. I mean, especially when COVID happened, I was like, "Thank the good Lord I had a big house to." Yeah, honey, you go on that end. I love you, but you go this end of the house because And speaking of that, my wife and I just had COVID. I think I told you last week,
Mhm.
and we had to quarantine, and we stayed in this house for 5 straight days. Didn't I mean barely walked out the front door just to get the mail, and we loved it. You know what I mean? It's that's if we'd have been in the old house when we first got married, because when I moved to Bloomington, I just bought a starter home, 1,000 square foot, little 3.5, 1.5. But you know what I mean? If we'd have been living in that, we probably would have killed each other. Yeah, we probably would have. Yeah,
Well,
or
Alex,
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing some facts, sharing some trends that you're seeing, and just setting the story straight of what's actually going on with the housing market.
you're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
So, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and either pick your brain or work with you, how can they do that?
All right, so I deal with communication on a daily basis in 3 forms of email and telephone, and with the telephone, text, call, or email. There are 3 ways to get a hold of me. My telephone number is area code 812-320-0273. And you can text or call. And the best email to contact me is A Everett, V as in Victor, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, at C21 Sheets, SCHEET as in Tom, Z.com. That's my email. So I still live in the world of after 18 years of restaurant management. When I get a text or a phone call or an email, I try to respond quickly. And why I say restaurant management world is like run the food, run the food, run the food. But I'm not like that when I go show a house. When I go show a house, I'm like, let's take our time. Let's talk about this. If we have time, go home and sleep. Write down a list, what you like, what you didn't like about the house. This is a huge financial decision you're getting ready to make. Let's take our time. Let's do it right. So I'm
Yes.
not like the pushy buy the house, buy the house, buy the house, unless the situation dictates otherwise. There's 3 other people put an offer in on this. We have to make a decision. And what I always tell people is if you didn't get this house, there's always other houses. There's going to be more houses. There just is. So don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. I think there's a
Alex, thank you so much for
You're
joining.
very welcome.
It
Thank
was
you for having
All right, guys, get a hold of Alex for your home buying needs in the Bloomington, Indiana area. And thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. And I'll see you
Thank
next.
you.
Have a blessed day.